This is literally 50 minutes later. Like, we have been working on this shit. This is ridiculous. But we sat down. Well, okay, 8:15. Let's give or
8:15.
take
Oh,
8:15. We sat down, and for 40 minutes, we have been trying to get, I guess, my shit together. I don't know what is happening.
that
But
was
I'm about to
weird.
talk to my
And
tech guy downstairs and be like, fix the shit now because this is the second week in a row that this is happening.
it's so
Where
weird because it's never happened before.
no, and he's taken that router down like a long time ago. Well, apparently it never worked, he said. Like, I guess it didn't work. So, I
Mm,
don't know. Maybe Jasmine was our lucky charm and
maybe.
and recording
She's
and
Jazz.
yeah.
It's all your
But
fault.
oh man, we're here. We're finally
Okay,
here
we made
and
it.
yeah. But oh my god, I feel like this week is dragging ass. It is going
Mm-hmm.
so slow. And
Mm-hmm.
like I told Hyro today, I'm like, it's only Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
It's only Thursday and it feels like it should be Sunday. Like,
Mm-hmm.
let's get this over with already. I don't know if
It's
it's like
because
the anticipation of the
yeah,
holidays or what, but
that's what it is. It's because it's Christmas coming up and it's just gonna drag.
oh my god, it's terrible. It's going so slow. And like I'm dying for him to get his paycheck and he's getting his second sign on bonus. So I'm like, we need to
Yay!
go Christmas shopping. Like we are going tomorrow, thank God. I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
let's get the show on the road. Like I'm ready for this weekend to like happen already, I guess. So but
Oh man, that's like the
what a
last
busy
second.
time. Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know. We do everything last minute. It's fine. It's
I
just what we're
wrapped our
used
last
to.
gift today. My very last one I wrapped it today. So
Oh,
I'm done.
nice. Well, that's
While
really
you just
nice.
get started.
Yeah. We haven't even bought anything, okay? So it's going to, yeah, it's going to be fun. So, but
Anyway.
man, like what a weekend too. Like last weekend was kind of busy. We celebrated
Mm-hmm.
Christmas with my family and they surprised me with a trip to go see my sister and my nieces. I'm
They
so
surprised you with
excited.
a trip to go see your sister?
Yeah. Remember I sent you the snap? I'm like, I'm going on vacation.
Oh,
they sent
right.
they bought a ticket for me so I can go down there. Me and Mavis. So I'm like, yay. I'm excited.
I'm excited
Excited to
for
just get
you.
away.
Right, just you. I mean, you and Mavis, but then you get to meet your little niece.
Yes, and she's a little butterball already, so
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see her. So, I mean, because at least when Z was born, I mean, we saw her like when she was like a few weeks old.
Mm-hmm.
And now with E, I'm like, she's 3 months and I haven't seen her yet. And everyone else has gotten to see her but me. So I'm excited. I'm
So,
excited
do you get
to
to
go down
pick
there.
when you get to go, or is the
It's
date already set?
already set. I just need all the information, like I guess my itinerary, I should say, and then we're good to go. So I'm
Yay!
excited. He was
That's
like, "How
exciting.
come I don't get to go?" And I was like, "Because
This poor
it's
kid.
okay. Like, don't worry about it. I think he's just dying for a trip. He has like middle child syndrome right now, so I
Mm-hmm.
totally get it. But he
Mm-hmm.
can't come with me, and I'm really excited because he's like, "I'm gonna miss you so much." And I was like, "Yeah, me too.
Me too. Me
Can
too.
I go? No, you cannot go. You cannot come with us. Sorry." But
Aw.
he's dying to like go down there. He misses Z, so
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, and then Sunday was the peaceful
Mm-hmm.
protest. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that was fun. Popped my cherry on a protest. And I mean, I guess it wasn't like supposed to be fun, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was nice like doing it. It was nice being there because I guess I didn't
Yeah.
know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I mean, we heard about it and like I remember when I think Jasmine was the one who sent it to us that there was the protest happening, right?
Yeah.
And then when she sent it to me or to us, I know my stomach like sank because I was like, oh God, like
like
Seeing
instant.
protests growing up was never like really peaceful.
No,
It
they
was
were
really
very
like chaotic.
aggressive.
Very
Yes.
aggressive and just
Mm-hmm.
like very testosterone filled, like, and it was during pastor school, so
Mm-hmm.
it was always just so ugh, like
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember what they were protesting against either.
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah, I
I
don't
remember there's
remember.
like aggressive people with signs, but I don't know.
Yeah. So when we heard about the protest, I know I was just like, oh God, like this is not gonna go well. Like it
Mm-hmm.
never has.
Mm-hmm.
It never
Yeah.
has. But then, I read, as like more information was let out, then you realize, okay, it's like a peaceful protest. Like they seem really adamant on letting it be a peaceful protest or whatever. So, but I don't know, like I felt called to be there. I felt like I
Mm-hmm.
have to go. Like I have
Yeah.
to be there. We talked about it on the podcast. We support the victims on the podcast. Like I don't know, I just felt like if we're gonna talk the talk, we also got to walk the walk. So
Oh no,
I was
I
just
agree.
really anxious on like what to expect.
I kept
So
going back and forth because of how the protests went when we were younger, where I was like, I don't
yeah,
know. Like you said, like, I don't know what to expect. And I don't think I didn't decide until the night before. It was almost 10 o'clock when I was like, I feel like we should go.
yeah,
Like the
yeah,
more I think about it, the more I'm like, we need to be there. We should be there.
absolutely, yeah,
And then like 20 minutes later, Danny threw up all over me, like
wonderful.
everywhere. It was so bad. So she got
Oh
really
my
sick, and
god,
then I couldn't go. But then like my FOMO was strong. Like I was on my phone
yeah.
constantly, like looking for stuff. And Dan's like, "Is that
I
why
think
you're
a
on your
lot
phone?"
of
I'm like,
people would, to be
"Yes."
honest. I think there were
Yeah.
so many people who were just like on their socials, just checking everything. Like whoever was live, you were
Mhm.
watching their live to see like
Mhm.
what was gonna happen. But
Mhm.
I wasn't anxious. Okay, because like we were going to my parents' house because the Bears game was on. That's what we've been doing for
Mhm.
ever since football season started. Whenever
Right.
we can make it out there to go see my parents, that's what we do.
Mhm.
So I was gonna drop the family off at my parents' house, and then I was gonna go to the church. But then I just started getting into my mind, and literally like 10 minutes, of us being on the highway, I was like, oh my god, like I told her, I was like, can you drop me off? I like things are running through my head. I'm like, I know people are so gung ho for this church. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know exactly where the location was gonna be. So that was making me really like spiral in my head because I'm like,
Mhm.
what if something happens? Like, God forbid, you think the worst because it's like this is a protest. There's a lot of people who really like stand for this church, and I feel like they would do anything.
Yeah.
I don't doubt somebody's psyche. So I'm like, okay, if it's like here by the Spanish building and in the corner, like I need to be in the back of the crowd. I can't be in the middle. I need to be by a door in case something happens and I can just run in. Like this is what's
Mhm.
happening in my mind because
Yeah.
I just don't know. I just don't
100%.
know. And
Mhm.
then as we started getting closer, like towards the Klein exit, I'm like, okay. I told Hyra, I was like, what if you just drop me off? I'm like, because then I'm like, I'm by myself. Obviously, I'm a protester. I'm not wearing Sunday best, clothes, attire. I'm like, what if I'm walking to my car by myself and like something happens? Like, what if somebody approaches me and they want to like start shit with me? Then I got like really anxious and I told her, I'm like, just drop me off. I was like, I'm gonna be there for an hour. At least I went for an hour. I'm like, no, don't, we got there right at 11. I'm like, no later than 12 because it went to 1 o'clock. And then that was that. But I also like didn't want it to be awkward with my family already at the house who is at the same church I'm protesting. And then here I come 5 minutes after one being like, hey, what's up, guys? Because
I was
nobody
church.
was, yeah, how was church? But so that's why I was like, let me just go for an hour so that way I'm already at the house by the time they get there and it's not like as awkward.
Mhm.
So I was like, okay, fine. So he dropped me off. And then I'm like walking and I'm like, okay, it's a pretty decent crowd for it, being right at 11. So I'm
Mhm.
like, okay,
Mhm.
cool. Um, and then I'm like, okay, now find somebody you know. And like, I really, aside from like Crystal and one of, our friends, I was just like, okay, like I seen Crystal first. So I'm like, Crystal, like, oh my God. I like went up to her and I was like, it was nice, seeing her because it's been a few years since I've last seen her. So that was really nice. And she's like, I made extra signs. Do you want one? I'm like, girl, yes. I'm like, give me one. So she gave me one of her signs, and then that was that. And then we seen one of the friends that I pretty much stayed with. So, but it felt more of like a Hiles reunion than it did like an FBC HB kind of reunion. I mean, there was people there that you've seen either they're older or I guess older. I really didn't see anybody kind of younger than me except for two girls. And I was just like, okay. I'm like, that's nice, but it was nice seeing people that we grew up with. Because there was
Mhm.
a few, there was a handful of people that we grew up with that I really never, like, we just ran in different friend circles. So, but it was nice to, like, embrace them and, like, listen to one of their stories. And I was just like, oh my God, like, I thought I had it bad. And, listening to other people's stories, I was just like, well, damn, like, then I like start getting on myself like, okay, I know I wasn't a good child, but like maybe I deserved it. Like compared to other people
No.
who just like didn't, who just
Mhm.
if they had like a slight attitude, like one of the girls was telling me that like she has custody of her brother's kids because her brother's a pedophile. And I was just like, "Oh my god, like I didn't know that." And it doesn't help that I've been gone for 13 years, and
Mhm.
let alone like I didn't talk to these people and some of these people in high school or even growing up, and then not being around for 13 years, kind of like absent minded. And then when you see them, you hear their story, and I'm like, oh my God, like
Damn.
that's crazy. Like I didn't know that,
Mhm.
And so like one of them basically told me like, oh, consider yourself lucky because your parents don't like judge you for being out of it. They're still accepting, they're not like on your back. And I'm well aware, like, I am lucky that I don't have parents. If anything, I said I feel like my mom could be a little bit more of a helicopter mom,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, but yeah, like hearing one of the girl stories that we grew up with, I was just like, oh my God, like I didn't know that. Like that's crazy to me. But also like, um, wasn't really surprised, but it was just like, wow. And then she was saying that she brought a lot of her like Christian books that was written by like Joe Hooker, like some Joe Beth Hooker, or some of the other like pastors' wives or whatever. And she was saying like, I never read any of those. I never cared to read any of those books.
Yeah.
Like to me, it was just like I don't know, like. I can't explain when I say like I just knew at a very young age this life wasn't for me. Like
Right.
I just knew. But
Right.
there's people like that we grew up with that were like, I got slapped across the face because I had an attitude and I was married. And I'm just like, "Oh my God, like that's so sad." Like it made me feel really really bad like being there, and then it kind of made me check myself like, okay, like I do consider I mean not that I do consider myself lucky, but I guess like just when I
It's
thought
like
I had it bad,
everybody.
there's somebody always has it worse.
Right. Right. But that's like exactly what I was going to say. Somebody has it worse, but also like it's a different type of, you know, abuse or
Yeah.
baggage or whatever you want to call it. So,
Yeah.
like, we've all gone through it differently, and yours is different than mine. But, like,
Mhm.
we're all here in the same circle
Yeah.
going through it, you know?
Yeah, I felt really like it made me feel really bad. And then there was one of our friends got really emotional like standing there too, and I was asking her questions like, how many people knew about your situation? Like, did you tell anybody? Like, I mean, we know a little bit of it. There was some stuff that I found out there too that I just didn't know. So, sympathize with our friend. And I told her, I'm like, I said, Lysa and I have gotten the chance to watch the documentary, sit down, talk it out, have a whole week to like go through our emotions of it afterwards. And it's like really heavy. And you never realize how heavy it is until you actually like see it fold out onto a TV show.
Yeah.
That's like everywhere. And you just never realize it. Like you know it, and we talk it out amongst ourselves like, yeah, that shit was crazy. Like that shit was wild. Could have done without it.
And I think what, because we sit here and we talk about it and we're like, we're not crazy, but to have a TV show that validates everybody's feelings, like now it's like they're validated. Like people are listening, because we could sit here and talk all we want, but it's us being dramatic and we're just girls and blah blah blah. But for them to tell their stories and people believe them and validate their feelings, and then have almost 200 people show up to say, yeah, we're here for you and everything. I think that's kind of where it gets like it's real. Like we know it's real and we're not crazy.
Yeah.
But then it's real.
Yeah. And for me, like, it was really nice because not only do we have the show to validate, like you said, but to have people drive by and honk and record and like, yeah, like it's about time, you have the community just driving by, like supporting, and then you have the brewery on the other side of the tracks who open up their doors for a warm shelter for hot coffee, hot cocoa, refreshments, like some little snacks, hot hands because it was cold. Like just the support was just really really nice, and I'm just like, this was so great, and hats off and kudos to April Vila for heading it up. I think it was just really really lovely, and it was like very peaceful. The only thing is like it was so quiet in front of the church aside from the protesters. There was just nobody walking around up front, and that Sunday that place is just busy and bustling and there's people everywhere.
Right. Did you hear that he sent the congregation like and the buses to the different chapels?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, Daniel told me that this week, because one of the guys he works with goes to the church, and he said, oh, because Dan asked him about the protests, and he said, it was good, it was quiet, it wasn't but that Wilkerson sent all the buses and all the workers and everybody to two of the different other churches, other chapels. And I was like, oh, that makes sense, because in all the videos it's like dead in front.
It was so quiet. It was so quiet.
And there's usually like
dead.
Even like kids
There's
running
people
around
everywhere.
everywhere.
There's people
But yeah,
everywhere, and it was like a ghost town aside from the people you saw like looking out the windows. And then I found out when Jasmine had text saying that he had sent instructions the night before saying for everyone to leave out the back doors and not the front. I was kind of just like, it makes a lot of freaking sense now, because I was sitting at the table with my family and my mom slipped my sister her phone and was like, these are the instructions for tomorrow. And I was like, what? Like, why can't you just wait till we leave to do that? Like,
You wanted me to hear that.
Yeah, but apparently he sent, like, he told everyone to leave out the back doors so nobody had to come and face us. And I don't know, like, it looks a lot like hiding, and it looks like it looks a lot like avoiding the problem instead of facing it, whether if it's not done publicly, privately, like the fact that it's still so silent and we haven't heard anything, I don't know.
Right.
It's like you want to give
Right.
them the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, it's like this isn't going to go away. There's always going to be something. But the
Mhm.
reason why it's always going to be something is because nobody wants to change what should be right.
Mhm. Mhm.
Like what should be lawfully right, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just I mean, it's like remember how we said in one of our episodes like you just learn at a very young age that you're just not a priority.
Yeah.
And we were talking in that sense for family wise. But ultimately like the church is going to do what the church is going to do. And the thing is like it's literally a living organization, like an organism. I mean, like the deacons run that. Like the fact that the deacons voted for him not to say nothing, whatever, like I don't know. I just hope that like this isn't going to go away or whatever, and regardless if it's because a woman led it or whatever the case is, just like
Right. Right. And I feel like, I mean, the church is putting out statements and stuff, and I don't think they're terrible statements. Like, I'm like, okay, it's very diplomatic of you, but also like actions. The people need actions. You're going to say everything you're going to say until you're blue in the face, but if you don't put anything behind it, like
yeah.
take the name down, take the statue down. I was talking to my dad about it, about the protest, and he gets
Mm.
like, very heated about any kind of,
Yeah, they get really itchy.
yeah.
Very
Well, I
antsy about
mean,
it.
about any, no, not about the protest, about any kind of abuse. Like if it's true
Oh,
and it
okay. About
happens,
abuse.
then yeah, then, but he was like, good, I'm happy they're out there. I hope it's, and he was literally like, I hope it's not peaceful. I hope they're heard. He went all like Shrek, grab your torch and pitchforks and go out there and yell. And he was like, because if it's true, and we know now that it is true and all this stuff is happening, something needs to change. He was like, take that name
Right.
down. Like it doesn't negate all the good that he did, but if this is bad, this is terrible, it's one of the worst things anybody could ever do.
Yeah.
So his name deserves to be down. And I was like,
Did your
dang,
parents
dad.
go on Sunday?
No, we were like the entire family got hit with the sickness. My dad was
Oh
very sick
no.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
And then my mom saw the picture of you on that's circulating on our
Oh.
um
I was like,
thing, and she called me and she was like, did you I saw Elena, were you there? I was like, no man, Danny's like throwing up all over me and she's got a fever. And she was like, oh, I saw a picture of her, so I figured you'd be there. And I was like, oh, I wish you would have called me because I would have went with you and stood out there. And I was
I
like,
would have
oh,
loved that.
yeah. And I was like, oh, well,
That makes me I'm getting a little
yeah,
emotional because I know your mom's story, and I
yeah,
think that just that's what the church needs to see,
yeah. And that's what I
because
said to her.
those who are in charge who do know, it's
Mm-hmm,
completely even more
mm-hmm.
validated.
Yeah.
I would
So
have
I was
loved to see your parents out there.
I was like, I was gonna call you because I was planning on going, and then I was like, I had planned to call her in the morning and let her know that I was gonna be there. I didn't know if she was gonna go to church or not. I know my dad was really sick, um, and when he gets sick, he kind of has to like stay away and just like
Yeah,
rest, sleep all
yeah.
day. So I wasn't sure if she was gonna leave him at home or go or not, and she decided to stay with him. But I was gonna call her and let her know that I would be there.
Yeah.
And she was like, and I was like, next time, mom, they do it again. And she's like, okay, call me and I'll go with you. I'm like, all right,
I
let's
hope
do
they
it.
do it again. I
Mm-hmm.
hope they do it again, and this time I would stay for the entire
Mm-hmm.
thing. I just really
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
Same.
really didn't. I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what to expect, so that made me very antsy and anxious. But being there was like okay, like, and seeing people that like we either grew up with, we went to Hiles with, or just seeing in general at around the church, it was
Mm-hmm.
nice because I'm hugging people that I've never like really had to communicate with growing up, and I'm just like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
like, I
Mm-hmm.
walk in and I have people, hi, hugging, and I wish I could have stayed for the entire thing. um but I just knew what was going to be happening after, and I'm like, just not going to make it a little bit any more awkward than it needs to be.
So how awkward was it?
So I was already home by time my sister had got there first with the kids, so that was fine. But it got a little bit awkward when like maybe my mom came home and maybe when her husband came home. But I mean, we all have our opinions. We all have what we think is right or wrong. And regardless if I go to the church or not, like, this is something that I also have a hard time with too. It may not be sexual abuse, but I have a really hard time with a lot of people. Like, some people are triggered by the place. And I've had multiple conversations this weekend too with different people that have asked me, like, how was it? And like, one of them asked me, like, how was it for you being there? And I'm like, for me, it's not the place. The place doesn't trigger me. Like, I could have walked in another door, acted like a visitor, went and used the bathroom properly instead of like some random, like, place. I could have went, found my mom, gave her a quick hug, walked out the front door and hopped back across the street and not be bothered at all. Like,
Right.
the place doesn't bother me. I'm very comfortable. Like, I really am. And it's probably because I've carried that I don't give a fuck attitude while being there throughout and after.
Yeah.
Like, I really just don't care. The place doesn't bother me. I can go to Hiles and I can parade my little ass around the school and not have a problem. For me, it's the people. For me, it's certain people that trigger me. Like, when we were standing out there, there was a ex-CB guy who was there, and he had makeup on, like, he's gay, and you just hear him say, "Is that Ricky Torres? Oh, that's Brother Ricky. I know he knows me." And he's like waving. It was so funny because it's like, yeah, oh, we see you. Like, we see you peeking out the window, like, it's, for me, it's the people. And then I had seen somebody like strutting their ass around the corner, and I'm like, this person is literally out here to see if someone's gonna yell something at them. And I wish I would have, because I really want to know what would have happened. Because
Nothing.
I know it's a peaceful protest, but at the end of the day, that person walked around the corner to start shit. To start shit. So it was just, I think, what, in my time of being there, in the hour I was there was one lady who came out. I don't even know what she said, because all I caught was people like yelling things back at her. And then Holly Belial got on the megaphone and like started chanting something, and then she's like, chanting, and I'm like, yeah, like, it's just like crazy. Like, it's like weird, but it's like, oh my God, And then when April came around with like the live on Facebook and was like, "Do you guys want to say anything?" I was like, "Girl, no, like, you caught me off guard." Like, I'm just not, I don't know, like, it caught me off guard and she wasn't panning away. So my sister Jasmine was like, "I see you," like, texting me. And I'm like, oh my God. But I did say something, it was just like, yeah. Like, just a little awkward. I just wasn't expecting to be on anybody's live, especially being like, "Hey, you want to say something?" No, not really.
No.
Like,
Read my
just
sign.
here to stand for support. Yeah, like, you just stand with the victims.
Yeah.
Just, it caught me off guard. I just wasn't prepared to do anything like that.
So funny.
I just wanted to be in the shadows. So just not in the shadows, but just, standing there. But I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going, and I was like, I hope they do this again. Because even somebody else was like, "Is this the only day they're doing this?" And the lady was like, "Yeah, I think so." And I'm like, we should do this again. Like, I definitely do it again.
Oh,
It was
I think
fun.
I got.
It was nice.
I was messaging our mutual friend, and she said that there's supposed to be one during the pastor school. So.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like,
See,
that sounds
yeah,
about
that one probably won't be as peaceful. Just
because that's
from
all
what I've
like
seen. Based off experience and through my own eyes, that's a little bit Yeah, that one I'm gonna have to think about. I don't know about pastor school. There's just too many people from out of town who just like feel, because I know when I've gone, to somebody else's church out of town, you kind of have that like I don't give a fuck attitude, and you kind of feel like you're bigger and bad, and because you don't live here, nobody can really like track you down type thing. So I feel like everyone's really going to be on their gangster shit during pastor school. I don't know if I'm there for that. Like I'm a mom of three, and we're just I don't know about that one. That one I might have to feel that one out. See how
You're
things
funny.
are in March. I don't
Well, I
know.
mean, if this one went so peacefully, I think, and it was nice, and I'm happy with it. I would love to be able to be part of one if they do it
Absolutely.
again.
Yeah. Like if it stayed
So,
peaceful, I would definitely want to
mhm,
go. But
mhm.
pastor school, just like, I just get the flashback of everyone just in a
No,
crowd and everyone's just
yeah,
screaming and yelling
aggressive.
at each other. It's just
Like we said
crazy.
before, aggressive
Yeah.
protesters.
And you're just trying to get into the building. Like,
Yeah,
excuse
right,
me, like, I need a sting. I need to go get my rosette and my cover button. Like, excuse me.
right. I need to go put on my burlap sack.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, pastor
That's
school.
funny. Yeah. So I
I don't
guess
know.
we'll
That
see.
one that
I
one
don't
is
know.
like,
But I thought it was great, and I was
yeah.
really proud of everybody that went. I was proud of you for going by yourself because I don't know.
By myself.
Yeah, that's a big deal, and I'm happy. And it
I knew
got
I
a lot
was
of
bound
like,
to see somebody that I knew, but I just didn't know who exactly. Because some people who said that they were going on the invite on Facebook, like I didn't see those people. So I'm like, WTF. I'm like, so and so, so and so. Like, where are you guys? And I don't know. I'm like, okay, maybe they're gonna come later, but I'm like
mm-hmm,
45 minutes in, and I'm not really seeing that many new faces. So,
mm-hmm.
but seeing like a later video or different videos from like after I left, I'm like, oh, okay, like there was more people that I knew that showed up. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I did see a couple of the church supporters who like came out to support because the pastor gave them, basically the okay to. But one of them was recording like anybody they talked to in their pocket, so that
Oh,
was
right, you
really
said that.
weird. Yeah, and I
He
was
was,
just
I
like,
mean, he was always a little creepy too. So to like see him talking to you, and he's got like his phone with the camera, like that's kind of like,
yeah. And like it was probably like four or five of us standing in a circle just like talking or just like grouped together talking, and then he comes up and the girl who was just initiating the conversation, like he went up to her and was like, so and so, I'm here to support, I'm here to listen, and I'm here to sympathize, like just want to say sorry or whatever. As soon
as
as he
he's
walked
like,
up, I was like, yeah, as he's like, can you state your name?
can you?
Like, look into the camera when you say hi to me. That's so weird. But like as soon as he came up, I was like, and I like turned around and just like started
No,
talking to somebody else
same.
because I don't know, like I just if if I never saw you talking to my parents growing up, or if I never personally had a conversation with you or your wife or whatever, like we're not about to start now in a conversation. So that's when I was like, yeah, anyway, next. But I don't know, I'm really like eerie with some people, and I don't know if do you know anything about his daughter? And like now,
Yeah,
this can be
yeah.
off record. Okay, so I was told by one of her friends that she was a pen pal with the pastor that got locked up, like when he first went off to prison.
Yeah.
I swear to
Ew.
God, that was told to me
I don't know about
because
that.
she was friends with somebody that I worked with at the daycare.
I mean, I feel like I believe it. Like back when she was still part of the church, I could totally see that happening. I could
Yeah, because she
totally
had
see
gone
it.
off and she was like some Christian teacher somewhere in like out west or something like that, like kind of in the middle westish or whatever. And this person that I worked with, they were good friends in high school, and she was on her way to go see her. And I remember her telling me that. And when I had mentioned that at the protest, and I was like, I don't know. I was like, it's people like this person that I tend
Did
to
you
just keep
mention
at.
it to her dad?
No, he was behind me though, and if he heard, I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
care. What? I don't really care. Like, what are you gonna do? Record me? So you can just send her the video? Okay. But I remember saying, because the girl who we were talking to, she was like, "Oh, is that her dad?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and she rolled her eyes like if she knew something, and I was like, "Okay," like I was like, "Well, I don't know really about that person." I'm like, for me, I was like, I don't really. I said, I know she's out of it now. I said, but for me, like, I know that she was doing this. Like, she was pen pals with the pastor when he first went off. Like, that, I swear to God, like, that was told to me. She was like, really? She's like, but do you think, like, she's made up for it and changed? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I would hope so. But to me, that's too wishy washy for me. Like, you're a little too close. And I don't know, like, as somebody I keep, like, at arm's distance. Like, just, you stay right there. Don't get any closer. But I swear to God, but I don't even talk to the person that I work with anymore. I used to work with, so I can't even like reconfirm it or whatever, confirm that was true. So
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I
yeah,
don't know though.
and she was like, "Well, do you think she like made up for it now because she's there?" I was like, "Well, I don't know. I'm like, I've heard what she like goes on social media talking about, so I would hope so, but I don't know. Like, that's what I remember. Like, that's what
Mm-hmm.
my last memory of her was before this person she is now."
Right.
I'm like,
But like also I believe that. Like you say that and I
right.
believe it. Yeah.
Because around the same time, this person was making support bracelets, like ordering support bracelets for somebody we went to high school with that always sets up GoFundMe. I don't know. Like I remember that being told to me, and then somebody else like asked me, and I mentioned it to them. Like, really? That's like really surprising. And I'm like, well, it's not really
Is it
surprising if you
though?
knew her back then. Like,
It's not surprising
it's
at
not
all.
surprising. Like,
Like if you knew her then, you know her now, I could see how you're like, really her? But if you knew
right.
her back then, absolutely it's not surprising at all.
No, but I don't know. Like, shit like that's weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like, I liked getting to talk to one of the girls that we grew up with. Like, oh, but she was telling me, going back to the books, like, kind of got off track or whatever. But she had brought some of her, like, Christian books there. And our
Oh,
mutual friend
okay.
was like, oh, are you going to burn them? And she was like, no. She was like, in case I need them, to show somebody, basically, like, I was like, no, this is what really like happened or whatever. Like, this is really what books were about. And they were talking about, she was like, in there, they talk about surrogacy, like in Joe Beth Hooker's book. And I'm like, damn, I should have just gone to the basement and looked through my mom's books to see if she had any more left of those.
I was just telling, I think, Buddy that I need to go to my mom's house because I think all my stuff is in her garage and see if
Yeah.
I can find some of those books.
I
Because I know
actually
I
just
have them.
screenshot before we started recording. When I was downstairs, I screenshot. Somebody posted on the Blind Eye Movement's page on Facebook the Christian womanhood notes that we had in
Oof.
college.
Are we reading them?
I kind of want to, because it's almost like this is what us females like. It's not everywhere I've looked, but there's a lot of people who talk about like the way we grew up on their social medias and their videos and stuff like that. Like the one I asked you guys about yesterday, I was like, I honestly don't remember seeing this person in Hiles with us, like at all.
Mm-hmm.
Considering we saw this person all the time in high school, and it was just almost like you can't get away from people. And but like the college, there's a lot of people, and even though you're off
Mm-hmm.
campus, like you still like see them out and about. I really just don't remember at all. Like I don't remember seeing that person, but anyway, but all that to say, I've been seeing people like talk about Christian womanhood, different ways how we grew up, and like a lot of people wouldn't know it now if they saw us out and about, if they look at us, like if they met us after Kyle's like meeting Ashley, my friend. Like
Yeah.
she would have no idea that this is the background that we came from unless you sat her down and talked about it. And like she just told me yesterday she finished the docuseries and she was like, girl,
Yeah.
I was crying the last episode. I was like, and that's you from the outside looking in. Imagine
Yeah.
living it and then watching it and then having to like go through those emotions all over again. It's terrible.
Right. That's
It's
so
so
funny. Your
terrible.
Ashley is like my Myra. Myra texted me yesterday
Yes.
saying she finally finished it.
Oh, what did
And
she
she was like,
say?
and here I was thinking it would have a happy ending. I'm like, girl,
No, there's nothing
no.
happy about it.
I know. She was like,
There's
I'm
nothing
just,
happy.
but then she also said that when they were talking about getting the city kids and bringing them to the church and stuff, and she was like, oh my gosh, I've been here. I've been to this place as a kid because she's from Chicago. And I was
It's
like,
the
I'm so
Indiana church
sorry.
everyone in
Yeah,
Chicago
it's the
says. The
Indiana church.
Indiana
Yep.
church.
Yeah.
The
So,
crazy
but
Indiana church that steals kids and
mhm.
brings them, steals kids, I shouldn't
Yeah.
say that, steals kids, quote unquote, and bringing
But
them
I
to
told
church.
her, I said, like growing up there, we were so used to it where they take the kids, you get all separated and then they'll plan a
Yeah.
salvation and then they like all but force you to get baptized. And I was like, it was so normal. And then you grow up and then at some point I remember being like a teenager and being the like, shouldn't they be talking to the parents? Like this is probably not okay.
Yeah.
But like who are you gonna say that to?
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, apologize for something that's, we're all
That
kids
you have
and
no
it's just
control over.
exactly. But it's funny.
Oh my god. Okay, so oh my god. Like I really wish I could have seen, more people that I know I haven't seen out and about, like, who are still in it. I wish I would have seen more support from more females in the church. Like
At
I
the
wish I
protest.
at the protest, yeah. Like
I
I
mean,
wish I would have seen it.
yeah, but also like it could have been like the same hesitancy that we had. Like we're from the church, we've seen the protests, we've seen how they go.
Yeah.
And it's very much I know that there were people kind of like, I don't know how it's going to be. I don't want to be involved if it's going to be the way that they have been in the past. If it's
Yeah.
peaceful, then yes. But if it's not, I want no part in it. But I think
Yeah.
that like this one went great.
I think so. Out
I
of all
think
the ones that I've seen at the church, I think
I
it went
know.
really,
I
really well.
agree. And I hope that that speaks for itself. And like good on April for like keeping it peaceful and keeping it, cool and collected. But still getting your point across. The amount of coverage that this thing got was
Yeah.
insane. It is everywhere. Some guy
Yeah.
came up to Dan at work and was like, dude, this came up on my Facebook. Like,
Not
that's
knowing
crazy.
Dan's
Not like he
background.
knows Dan and he knew about it because Dan had told him that I was thinking about going and that I might
Mm-hmm.
go on Sunday. And so they talked about it a little bit, and then like a few days later, he's like, "This thing is everywhere." His
Yeah.
coworker was telling him, and I'm like, "Yeah." So I mean, I think I love the amount of coverage it got, and I love the yes, it's about the abuse that has taken place in the IFB movement, the IFB church, but also about changing the statute of limitations
Yeah.
in all states and in Indiana. Like that's huge because I know
Yeah.
multiple people who don't say anything because then what's the point? Nothing's gonna happen now.
Yeah. I got
It's
chills like
just
thinking about it.
yeah,
I do.
like because I know
I have chills.
yeah, like that would just change so many people's lives
Yeah.
if that changed, if the statute of limitations changed. Because I mean, think about it. Like people don't say anything because it's been so long, and especially if you were younger, like you don't know. Depending on when it's happening, you don't know. Sometimes it's just your normal,
Yeah.
and you don't know. And by the time you know, it's too late for anything to happen.
Well, that and like when it does happen when you're young, and even like at 15, 16. I mean, look at the situation that happened at, First Baptist with Scott. Like, he groomed her into thinking that this is God's love and this is like
Yeah.
okay. Like, that's what he
Yeah.
groomed her. And I do want to say, because I had talked to somebody else, I think the week leading up to the protest, and she was telling me that she had to meet with Scott when she had her situation. And she was like, it's just something that like she kind of blocked out in her head until she watched a documentary, and it was like, oh shit, like this is like a memory unlocked. And she was like, I remember him like asking me some like really weird and off the wall questions. And now that I think about it, I think like, oh my God, like that's weird. And I'm like, okay, knowing the history of this girl and the girl with Scott, they were very active in a way that a lot of girls that aren't. And so I think he preyed on that, because then
Yeah.
ultimately it did fall back on the girl with Scott because of her past.
Yeah.
And I think he took advantage of that in a way for people to look at her being like, oh no, you're at fault too. Like, he took
Mm-hmm.
advantage of those girls in that situation, or that girl specifically. But with this girl and her memory unlocked, she was like, oh my God, like he was saying some weird shit to me. She was like, thankfully, like, obviously nothing happened, but. And then, it made me think, like, I wonder if he was just preying on those who were very active at an age they shouldn't have been. And that to me is just like, oh my God, like, this literally could have been anyone that these parents are taught to entrust, the pastor, because he's supposed to know, he's supposed to be God's secondhand man and supposed to guide you.
Yeah.
And instead of that, he's preying on these teenagers who
Yeah.
who are very active for their young age. And it's a perfect setup for him, to be honest.
Yeah.
Look how many people he had on his side, like from the staff writing letters and like other people. Like, in a way, he knew exactly what he was doing. That is proof right there. He knew exactly what he was doing. Look how the church turned on that girl and their family,
Yeah.
and not just her immediate family, a lot of her family members. So that was like, for me, I was just like, oh my God, like that made me, I told her, I was like, that makes me wonder if he had a type, you know, young and
Yeah.
active, which is
I mean, you're
weird.
probably
And
right.
the fact that, like, I understand like some people's mindset who are still in it, like, it's the whole, well, I didn't do anything and not all of us are bad type thing. But like, you have to realize that that is bad. Like, there is a bigger picture that that is not right, and it's very unlawful. It's literally against the law. So for it to be hidden, you know
Yeah.
whether if it was 40 years ago or not, it's still messed up, and it's still not okay.
And
It's
it
still
still
not okay.
happened.
It's
It
still
still
happening.
happened.
Yeah.
Whether it was 40 years ago or not, it happened.
Yeah.
And the fact that if it was 40 years ago, but now you can't do anything about it,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
you
like
can't do anything about it.
a few of the women on the documentary,
Yeah. Yeah, it's
which is
sad. And
terrible,
it's
and
not
it is
right.
sad. But I don't know. I If they do the second one in March for pastor school, and if it remains a peaceful protest, sure. Like, I wouldn't mind going, and I wouldn't mind staying for the whole thing, because I did truly enjoy the atmosphere on Sunday, being with the other protesters. I really did enjoy it. It was nice. It truly was so peaceful. Like, I didn't feel anxious anymore once I was around people I'm comfortable with. But pastor school for me is something that I'm going to have to think about. I guess, people are going to be talking, people are going to be buzzing, because everyone's talking about it, whether you're at the pulpit talking shit or whether you're over here, standing on the other side of the street protesting against it, we all know the same thing. We all know things are happening. Like, these pastors, they're never afraid to like speak their mind and speak the truth, and they get themselves in trouble because of it. So you're bound to hear the pushback, and you're bound to hear something. So I guess for me, I'm going to have to see like what is being riled up around that time, because you're eventually going to hear it on both sides.
What's the vibe happening like the week and weeks leading up to it?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Go from there. I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, it's one thing for it to happen here and everyone's home church here, like everyone who now calls First Baptist Church of Hammond their home, like they chose to go out the other doors, they chose to not acknowledge it, you know, they were given the option to whatever, like it was very peaceful on both ends. But Pastor School, they're coming over here, this isn't where they're from, they don't give a crap or a rat's ass who they're offending, or you know, they really don't care. They're there for an argument. We've seen it.
Yeah.
And everyone just wants to be that one pastor that put the backslider in their place. Like, that's their goal. And like, frankly, I'm not here to argue. I'm really not. So
backslider. It's been a minute since I heard that.
Because that is the lingo.
It is.
That is the lingo. Like, that's their main goal, is just to, they're right and they want to put somebody in their place.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, okay, like, you can have your, and what a lot of people don't understand too when they're in that mindset is that they're so headstrong about their thinking and their stance on stuff that everyone else's opinion is wrong and their opinions aren't respected. Oh my god. But yeah, I don't know. That one I'm gonna have to think about. Take a rain check on that one for a little bit and see what is the vibe and how gangster people are coming to this thing.
We got a few months. But, I mean, if it does happen. So
yeah. When is Pastor School? It's always the middle, right? Middle of March.
It's usually in the beginning, and sometime in March, but I'm going out of town sometime in March, so maybe not. Yeah. We got time to think about it and see.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was nice. It was peaceful. It was nice being there. Wish I could have stayed a little bit longer, but like I told Hyro, I said if they have another one, I'll probably stay for the whole time and just not go to my parents' house afterwards. Like, if we weren't going for football, I would have stayed for the whole thing once I was there. Then I would have been like, okay, like that's fine. But I knew we were gonna stay there at my parents' house, so I was like, it's already awkward. So, yeah. But my dad was like, he was asking Hyro. I asked Hyro, I'm like, did my dad say anything? And he was like, well, he asked where you were, and I told him where you were at, and he was like, why? He was like, well, because she feels like she needs to be there. You know, she talks about it on her podcast, and she just felt like she needs support. And he's like, okay. He's like, nothing's gonna change though. He's like, they're never gonna change. So, and I had told my dad when I got home, this is part of like the afterwards too. Like, when I had got to my dad's house, I walked in and I was like, I burned it down, Dad. I burned it all down to the ground. And he was like, good. But like, for my dad to even say that is just like a complete 180 from what it was me being in junior high, high school, and college. And, I told my dad, I said, he goes, well, who was all there? I was like, well, I don't really, like, it was more of a Hiles reunion. And some of the people that I saw was like, what's your name again? Like, we all recognize each other's faces, but couldn't remember names. So I met this one girl and I told her like who my parents were. And she was like, okay, your dad was always like so nice or whatever. And my dad was like, I told my dad, I said, she was saying that you were always fair. Like, you always treated, everyone fairly. And he was like, yeah, that's true. I did. And I said, well, you want to know my response to that? He's like, what? And I was like, yeah, he was so fair. I even got my my butt in trouble. I was like, he would even get me in trouble at the school. And he was dying laughing. I was like, yeah, because it's true. Like, he was so fair to everybody that if I got in trouble at home, guess what? I got in trouble at school too. High school and college.
Yeah, you didn't get any kind of trouble
I
to
did
begin with.
not. So if you thought that,
You got like the
I
opposite.
sure
You
did.
got the opposite. Like it was harder on you because
Exactly. And you know what? If I was in his position, I probably would have done the same thing. Like maybe not so extreme, but definitely like not showing fairness. Like I wouldn't be involved in anything that I had to be involved in with my kids. Like even when I worked at the daycare and they wanted me to be a teacher as part of Gigi's age, I was like, no. We're not doing the whole favoritism accusing and stuff like that. So I always opted no. But my dad was dying laughing when I told him. I was like, yeah, I told people, yeah, he was so fair. He was even fair with me. Like, if I got in trouble at home, I got in trouble at school too. Like, that's just what my dad did. And I was like,
so
yeah. And my dad's like, well, that's all I wanted there. He's like, that's one thing that I really miss is that, having to bond with like younger people and just having like a good time. And I'm like, no, I get it. Like, I get it. And then my brother-in-law down south was messing with my dad. I didn't tell you guys this. He like sent a text and he was like, he texted my dad and he was like, you should have been at the protest. He's like, you should have made a sign that said fire Stuart Mason. my my dad started dying laughing. He's like, you're an idiot. Like Mason hasn't worked there since Scott left. Like I was dying laughing. I was like, he's such a moron. Like, but that's my brother-in-law. Like, always trying to poke the bear somewhere.
that's funny though. That's funny
Oh
though.
my god! But you know what? Okay, so
What
afterwards,
happened?
like, I don't know if it was in the same day or a little bit, maybe like a day after, but somebody released different pictures from different men in the ministry, part of different IFB places, like churches. One of those men was Pete Cowling. And I have been dying to like post his face because, yes, yes, Pete Cowling,
Ew.
absolutely. Like, I never understood why he always taught a class that was all females. Like, all females. And they all try to kiss his ass. Did you ever have to take physical science? Like, physical science, like, I'd rather get all my teeth pulled than to sit through another class of physical science with Pete Cowling.
Isn't that the class where they sang a lot? Like you just like sang the whole time? Did you learn anything about science, or it was a singing? Well, my understanding that it was just like a singing class, like it was like a tour group
Yeah,
people,
I got my ass.
right? That's that class.
Yes. Started the fucking class, and I'm going to curse up a storm because I cannot stand Pete Cowling and Frida Cowling. Like, I'm happy we're doing video because I'm like, she irritated the fuck out of me. She was old as hell. Like, I can't. Like, I remember having a class with
Did
her.
you? I was gonna say, did you have any classes
Yes,
with
I think
her?
I had one too many. Like, one would have been fine. I think they gave me one too many classes with her because I also had cooking with her.
I had cooking with her
And then I
too.
had like some other one. I don't remember what it was, but I remember she's so old. She has to sit down while she's teaching her class. And while she's teaching her class, I'm not even exaggerating. I sat down the other day and did this with Hyro because I'm like, this is how she would teach. And he knows his grandkids. Like, he knows his grandkids because they umpire for Little League.
Right.
Yeah. I
Okay.
told Hyro, I'm
Yeah.
like, she would
Yeah.
be up there. She would have to sit because she's so old. She can't stand. and she'd be talking and teaching her lesson, and all of a sudden she's like, and then she starts falling asleep like while she's speaking.
No.
You've never seen Frida Kahlo fall asleep while she's teaching her class?
I don't think so. I don't remember. I remember cooking with her, and I had like it was back when because it must have been my first year there, because I still had like the elementary education before I changed it. So I took class with her, and it was literally just like teaching us nursery rhymes, like Five Little Monkeys, for that one. But
like my head is hurting
her
thinking about
asleep.
it. She literally was like like falling asleep, and you're just like looking around, it's like, such as me that sees us, right? There's more people in here. Like, I don't know, but his class, like, I didn't learn an ounce of science. I think he failed me on purpose because he hated the fact that I never sang. He yelled at me in front of the whole class because you just come in here with your bad attitude every single day and you think you're above everything and you don't have to sit and sing. And I'm like, well, we're not here to sing. This isn't choir. Like, the fact that you got 100, a free grade for performing a song in chapel for this class, is so stupid. Like, oh my God. I I hated that class.
And that was a big class too. Isn't that like big classroom, right? Where we would be on Saturdays, right?
And it was packed.
Yeah.
It was packed. Like there's probably
That's a big
50 girls in that class. No guys. No guys were ever in that class. And I can't even remember learning anything because I just remember thinking, why are we singing? Why do we always sing everywhere we go? Like, why? Why? Is this a music college? Like, what is happening?
That's funny. I never took any of his classes. I didn't think I had
terrible.
anything with him.
Terrible. But I don't know, man. Just, yeah. I enjoyed it. That was the weekend. It's a little bit more of growing up and different people. Like, I'm happy that they put Pete Collins' name on there because I did forget that there was a rumor of him, like, there was rumors of him doing stuff, and it would not surprise me at all.
I feel like something came out like not too long ago
very
about
recent,
him too,
very
right?
Recent.
Yeah,
but definitely when I seen his picture,
I don't know the specific. Yeah, I don't know the specifics of it, but I know that something came out.
Yeah, I remember that too.
I mean,
but that was our weekend. I encourage everyone to go back and listen because even my friend Ashley was like, "Oh, I have to catch up on like now that I've seen it. Like, I want to hear your guys's like a little bit more in detail." And I'm like, "Girl, yes."
Mm-hmm.
So, I know we didn't. I always say, like we've said it multiple times in the last episodes before, like this wasn't a religious podcast. Like, we do want to talk about other things, but unfortunately, like, this is our background, this is our life, like, this is what's happening. Like, even though we're out of the IFB, it's still we're still very much going to hear about it. Now we're kind of like on the other side where we're not standing for the cover-ups of sexual abuse anymore. Like, it's being spoken about, and you know, just, I don't know, standing behind it. Like, I've been talking to somebody about like the recent like events that have happened or whatever, and this person kind of wishes that this would have happened, years ago with SCOP doing its thing, and I understand that person's point of view and I totally get it, but I don't know if it was just like everyone just going through the emotions of this being the biggest thing that any of us have ever witnessed, and everyone just felt kind of confused on how to act, because everyone was just like jumping on that family as if it was all their fault, and it was kind of just like, well, this girl was already this and that, and it just got really bad and really ugly. And I feel bad for the family who basically got ran out and was told to never show their face again. Like, it's pretty terrible because they're also like kind of victims in this too. Like, this is their family member who was hurt, you know, and everyone just got treated very poorly. And a lot of people just jumped on the bandwagon for Scott. And now that this documentary is out, now it's more like more people are woke to the situation. More people are, you know, speaking out and standing up behind it. And it's almost like it feels, in some cases, it's 10 years too late. But also it feels like this is perfect timing as well, because now day and age, the world isn't standing up for that type of stuff either. So it's not just our bubble. But and speaking of that, I don't know if you heard, but they're set to release the list of 170 people from Jeffrey Epstein's island list.
Oh, yes. No, I didn't hear this.
Yes, it is set to drop like very, very soon. You have to look it up.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to.
Oh, yeah. So when we say what a and I don't know if you heard that, I just banged everything over here, but it's almost like, what a great time to be alive, but also this is going to be really fucked for a lot of celebrities and politicians.
Ooh, I am happy for that. Good. About damn time.
So it's going to be an interesting few weeks coming up here soon. But we just wanted to hop on really quick and put some content out there before the busy weekends. We're probably going to take a week break probably for the holidays.
Yeah.
Be on the lookout because we are getting together for New Year's, Lysa and I. And we plan on getting really tipsy for New Year's because it's what we do every year. And we're probably going to hop on here. We could probably hop on live somewhere and like just have some fun with us. Like party, bring in the new year with us. Like it's probably just me and Lysa just going to be acting really dumb, but we're perfectly fine with it. It's not the first time.
So much fun.
Nope. But yeah, we shall see everybody around New Year's, on New Year's Eve.
On New Year's. Yeah. I'm so excited. I love New Year's.
Me too. But until then, we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye.
Follow us on Instagram and find us on Facebook to find out where you can listen to the Rejects Table podcast.